Okay, give everybody a couple minutes to show up and get through the commercials. And if the internet goes down while we're broadcasting tonight, it's because they're supposed to upgrade my service sometime within the next, about 15 hours. I would guess it was 24 when I ordered it earlier this morning. So who knows when that's going to come. Hello, Nate the Gaming King. How you doing today? We'll be starting in just a couple minutes here. Give everybody a chance to show up and get through commercials, and then we'll get into map making class tonight. Aha. King Gamers YouTube account. Thanks for the host, Big Daddy. Alright, I guess we can get started and people will show up, and when they get here, they get here. So, we're going to start off today, and we are going to, the focus of today's lesson will be on objects. Moving around objects and placing objects and all of that fun stuff. So we're going to start off with our map where we left off last week, or Friday. Load up my map. He got the sound bit for the ad. Hi, Throsby. Okay, today's focus is going to be on moving and placing and doing all sorts of things with objects. But before we get started, I had one question last week on making fields and marking fields. So let's go back over to where we were doing a field real quick. And that question was, what do you do if you've created a field? And let's see, find my fields in all you need. I'll work field 3 here. Rename the one I just created to 4 by Control D to duplicate. And the question was, what do you do if you are making a field? We'll go to the foliage layer, shut the terrain, bring up the terrain editing window, and we are going to go down to the foliage layer and select terrain detail. Expand that out just a little bit. And what was it, 2 I think? I can't even remember from last week what the bits were. I had them all written down. What do you do if you're marking a field that has a round corner, was the question. Alright, 2, 4, and maybe it was 1, 4, nope. We'll figure out which bit I used. There we go. So it is 2 and 4. Make a nice round corner. Basically, if you're marking a field with round corners, we're going to take corner 1, and I'll show you just real quick. We're going to put corner 1 up here. Where would you put corner 2 on this round corner, was the question. Corner 2 needs to be outside of corner. Basically, imagine yourself at corner 2's corner, so you would drag this down to there, then just try to line it up as close as you can, bring it out to the edge. So that's where corner 2 would be on a rounded corner field. If it was in further, basically, like here, then someone would be able to actually seed and harvest these edges that are outside the box. So you would just bring it to the edge of the corners, like so, and that should be good. Alright, back to objects. First we're going to see what we have over here that we can play with. You will notice some objects are just great for adding to your terrain. So like this rock here, I'm going to rock cliff 02. I'm going to just duplicate that real quick so I have a copy. Control D to duplicate, always using the left control key. Now I have, thanks for the follow there, the Gaming King. Now I have a duplicate of that big rock. Well, I'm going to bring that rock, and using the left control and the B key, I'm going to click over here, and you'll notice with this rock that it has a back that you can actually see through. So we're going to select that, and we're going to spin it around with the axis right here, just by clicking and dragging on that axis. And we will check. You can see also that we have a gap in the back. I'm going to bring that down on this axis so there's no gaps. You don't see the hollow spot in the back. And you can quickly create an interesting looking terrain using terrain objects like that. And if you wanted to with these types of objects, you can duplicate them and drag them out halfway, rotate them a little bit more so that they don't look the same as the one you just placed. Just make sure all your ends are underground, like so. And they can overlap a little bit. You won't get the flashing unless your two pieces are overlapping a lot on the seams, but they're cutting right into it, if you get what I mean. So gives it a little bit different look with the two different terrain objects right there. What I'm going to do first here now is I am going to plant some trees and show you some techniques for doing trees on this wonderful hill we have here for a forest. Before I get started there, I'm going to go up here, create a transform group. It will add it to the bottom. You just use the create, select transform group, and you'll get a new transform group at the bottom. In the user attributes window, I'm going to name that transform group forest, or maybe even just in case you have more forests, I want to call this the hill _ forest so I know which one it is later on. And the first thing I like to do when I'm working on something is take the point, and somewhere in the middle of that forest I'm going to highlight, left control B, bring the point in the middle of the forest. So that's the forest we're going to be working on. Next I'm going to come over here, find some trees for that forest. And we conveniently have the trees. If you needed to import trees because they're not on a map you're working in, you would go to the import button, and somewhere in here, not in the animal barns that I was working on earlier, we're going to go to the map folder, which is map class right here, find my map, and under models, usually it's under natural trees, and they're not there because he exported it, so we'd have to export one and then import, but you can also find them in the basically the i3D files have already been combined into the map, so they're not showing. If I were to take one of these trees here, such as this one, and export the selection with the files, again, let's get back to my proper map folder, which is map class, map, models, natural, trees, and we're going to call this pine 40M, and then save. Now if I wanted to import extra trees, you'll find it right in the tree folder, and it copied all the needed parts right there. But you already have them on the map, so let's take this tree. I'm just going to copy it, go to the hill forest and paste it into my hill forest folder, and let's see what else we have here. We want to work with some pines for the forest. We'll make a copy of this one here too. Left click and paste that one into the hill forest. And I don't see the smaller one. It's probably buried in there somewhere, but we'll start with 2 and give you the idea of what we're doing here. Let's go over to our forest area, and we are going to highlight the spruce. Control B, click, bring our first spruce tree. Let's grab our 27 meter pine. Control B, click, bring the pine over here too. You can do your forest with any of the trees. Next, you could go through and hit Control D to duplicate, click, Control B, whoops, I duplicated, but in a minute, while it's highlighted, Control B, click, move a copy of it. And it will always, when you do that, put it on the surface so it's underground, so you get the right size stump. Part of the tree under the ground for cutting and everything. But there is an easier way when you want to plant a whole bunch of trees, and that is highlight your tree. We'll take the spruce 40 meter. We'll get out here a little bit so we can see quite a bit of the terrain that we're going to be working on. When I do Control B and then click, whoops, I messed up, I always do. Let's try that again. Control B, click, keeping the mouse button held down. Now if I just tap the Control key, it gives me a duplicate and it spins it, and it lets me put it on the surface anywhere I want while I'm still holding the left mouse button down. And every time I tap that Control key, it'll spin it so you're not getting the same looking tree. It'll spin it just a little bit, and you can keep going real quickly. Populate your forest with the tall trees. You will have to reset when you run out of screen room, but all I'm doing is keeping that mouse button after I Control B and then keep tapping the Control key. I can scroll in and out by holding the right mouse button down at the same time, but I lose the Control B feature. So what I'm going to do, and I did just put a tree up in the air, which you got to be careful about. Do the same thing. We'll move to another position. Control B, click and hold the mouse button, and then Control, 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 Control. Quickly populate our forest. Make a nice bushy forest with the trees. and I always do that. I have the last one. I'm going to Control B, click and hold. So you get the idea. You can really, and every time I click the Control key, it spins the tree just a little bit so it doesn't look the same. Now I have the last one. I will release it this time. So you can see already we got quite a few trees. Now the question is, where's the pine that I had? It's buried in there. So I'm going to take the pine and do the same thing. Control B, click and hold, and then control, we'll mix some pines in here. Got to make sure that they're not floating in the air. Mix some of the smaller trees in with the bigger ones. Control B, click and hold. Control, spin it around, make some more. You got to make sure when you get close to another tree you're not getting the root off the ground like it is here. It basically wants to put it on top. And you'll know when you're putting trees a lot close together. You see on my map in the beginning when I first did the PV15 map, there were a few that I missed that I ended up getting on top of a tree. But you can get them nice and packed in forest. And that last one's up in the air. So when you get done, just take a quick look through at your roots of your trees or your stumps areas and make sure you don't have anything floating. And if you did, just highlight that tree. Control B, click, move it so it's flush on the ground. Very quickly we could fill up this whole mountain, but I'm not going to do that today. Gave you a quick idea. And we're going to go see what else we can make today with what pieces we have. Alright, let's set up our main farm. Why don't we work on a main farm area? And first thing is we're working with fence. Let's find a nice fence that we'll put around our farm. Over here we have several fence pieces. You can also find fence packs online on the mod sites. If you watch back, I think it was week 2 we showed how to do the road import. May have been week 3. But we have all our road pieces still underneath the map here that we imported. And any object that doesn't have any special features, any static, just basic plain decorative object, you can import with the same way. And I also showed you how to take it out of the Pleasant Valley map in that as well. I'm going to grab this piece of fence. Actually, before we get started, let's figure out where we're going to work. Let's call this place here our main farm area. Why not? It's pretty dull and boring looking right now. I'm going to paint a little bit more dirt slab. We're going to put some fence around it. Doesn't have to be pretty, but you can make it real pretty if you want. Yeah, that works. Shift key works too. The shift, he is correct, but let's talk about that. I was going to get into that, Nate. When we're doing the Control B click here on a tree, and we're holding down the click
disconnected,
and then duplicating it by hitting Control, we're spinning it. It's a tree. It gives us a random angle of the tree every time. If I was to do Shift, it doesn't spin the tree, and therefore every tree is facing the same way, and it doesn't look as natural with trees. But yes, the Shift key definitely for some features, but for doing trees, I always hold down the Control. That way you get the spinning of the trees. Otherwise, you could do it with the Shift and then sit here and go like this after you place them and give them random angles, but the Control key does that automatically, whereas the Shift option does not. Back over to my slab. let's create, actually, I'm zipping around here. Let's create a new transform group, and we're going to call this one. I like to keep the transform group so if I ever want to go back to the hill forest area, I can highlight that whole group at one time. This group I'm going to bring right into the center because I may want to move the whole farm. We're building it on a flat area. Control B, click there. We're going to name this the main farm. And let's get some fence. Somewhere over here. This one looks like fun. So I'm going to grab all three pieces by holding garden fence short, and garden fence end. Holding control key, I'm selecting all these three garden fence pieces. Copy them. Bring them down to the main farm. Paste them in that folder. Let's see what we have here. The garden fence short piece, Control B, click. There's our short piece of garden fence. The end is a end post. And the larger piece of garden fence is that one there. So for the majority of it, I'm going to use the big one. Slide these just out of the way. Now I'm creating this fence on flat land, so it's going to be pretty easy, and I usually do it. You could do it with the Control B, click and hold method, and then the Shift key like he said, but you get the back and forth movement, and it's a little bit harder for me to line up. It can be done. I usually just go and Control duplicate, Control D, drag it out, stays in a straight line. Make sure that the piece before it is touching or into the bar on that one. Control D again, and drag my fence around. Build a fence around the lot. Just by Control duplicate D, drag it, put it at the end. And you can see it's quickly coming together. Now if I was really thinking about what I was doing, I could have easily taken all these pieces and put them into another transform group and only had to do one side and then duplicate it over to the other, but I didn't. So sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. You can actually, it's all in my main farm folder, but if I was to duplicate the main farm folder, you'd get an idea what I mean. I could have moved it right over to the other side and have that whole side done already, but I didn't. And I like to keep my main farm. I could change it, but we're just going to keep on going the way we did. Get out here to the end. If it seems a little bit long past where you want, that's what that other section's for. So let's grab that little section. Make sure it's lined up good. Now I'm going to go back to the big one, drag it out to here, and then rotate it. I wasn't even square, but rotate 90, minus 90. We'll send it the other direction. You can quickly see we're building our fence. And you're going to need a place to get into this lot. So if we had a road here, we'll make a dirt road going in with the terrain editing tool. And now we came to a spot where we need the little post. So we'll bring our post over. Put that on. Now, you can see I missed totally. You gotta look at it sometimes, these things, from all sorts of angles to see where the heck they go. Alright, we're definitely going in there. That looks pretty good. Pick up where we left off on the other side of the road with the big piece. And keep going around building our fence. I'm not going to go all the way around the lot because you guys get an idea, but we got a entrance here. We'll get right over to this corner and then finish it up. That looks good. Grab our end post again. I'm going to control duplicate and just drag it all the way over because it's on the same line, nice and straight over here. And voila. You could go all the way around your lot. You could touch up your terrain afterwards if you want. Let's get us a house for our farm. I know we have houses over here. Somewhere in here, will give us this little yellow house. I'm going to copy that, move a copy of it into my main farm folder, paste it, Control B, and there's our house. Now, these standard objects do have some controls. Make sure your house is sitting on the ground nicely. If you wanted to make your house bigger, you could scale it up a little bit, 1.5 by 1.5. You make a big house if you scale it equally. Sometimes it would look a little bit ridiculous if you get a really big door or so. So I'm going to keep it at 1. But as far as barns, we'll see how that looks later in the game. Thanks for the follows. Let's find a nice barn for our farm over here, if they have any nice barns. That one looks pretty good. Hall. Get the whole hall. That's one thing you got to make sure. When you click on an object, some of them have several pieces. And I didn't get the doors highlighted and everything. So click on the main group for the hall. I'm going to copy that whole thing down into my main farm folder again. Just by clicking on main farm. Paste it in there. You could also use the Control C, Control V keys, but you guys wouldn't be able to see that. That's why I'm using the menus. Give you a little bit of heads up what I'm doing. I got my hall selected. We'll bring her with the Control B. And clicking. And we'll put that on the ground back here. It doesn't have a back door, so we'll put it right up against the back lot. Sometimes you'll have to squeeze things into an area, or you might want to fill up an area. That would be great. X is usually up and down if it's everything's well, so, or nope, that one's front to back. Y is up and down. Z would be wider. I want to make my barn longer by, we'll make it twice as long. Now the doorways are going to get longer and everything, but you could see you can make it twice as long. Make it fill your area. I'm going to just go to 1.3, make it a little bit bigger than the standard barn. And that looks pretty good. Now also for our farm, which we're going to need to make a farm extension, let's put a road right down, a gravel road down this side here. We'll get rid of the beach later. And draw in myself a road real quick. Make it big enough because I got to get the silo if it's over there. I haven't even checked. But you do want to get your silo. Because the silos are over here. There is the farm silo system. We only clicked on the silo LOD. We want level of detail file. We want to get the whole thing. So we have the silo trigger. You notice I do not have the dump area with that. We'll have to find that in that mess somewhere else. But let's bring the silo over. And you can see where the spout's gonna want to empty out right here. So I want to do that. Let's spin it around to 180. And slide it off to the side. The grass here is annoying me a little bit. I mean the sand, so we'll bring in some grass. And we'll also make it a little bit wider. We're going to have to get around the backside for offloading this, so let's make a little pad here. And perhaps another road down this side. That eventually will connect to a main road that goes possibly through here. Alright, so we have our silo. Now silos have the triggers. There's a lot of things to learn about silos eventually. But your silo trigger is buried down in this folder. And in the user attributes, you'll see which files it's calling the particle systems, what fill types it takes. So I literally, if I wanted to, because this is a default map, if I wanted to add in the potato, I would just put a space, POTATO, and now that silo will also unload potato. Although, I don't know if it will. If they ever fix that so the silos would, we'll find out. I replaced all the triggers in PV15 with a different silo system because in the beginning nobody could get the silos to work with this trigger system, adding things in. Now that the script information's out, we'll have to take another look at that and see if it works. If people figured out how to get them to operate correctly. Somewhere in here is the dump spot for silos. Where did he put them? Let's see what we have here. Farm silo system. Probably under triggers and stuff. We've got conveyors, vehicle shop, store place, trains. Cow silo. I don't know where if the trigger's in there. Well, we'll have to create one. Let me take a quick look around here again. We need a place to dump stuff. I clicked on a spline. That is the elk spline. Which brings me to another thing. Why are there elk splines in this game? Has anybody ever seen an elk running on its spline? Well, they're in there. But it seems like it's a feature they never added. Here we go. We can use this. That is a grain station trigger for the shipping office, but we can use it for our farm. Let's grab the grate, unloading pit. Let's grab the whole thing for now. Copy it, move it into our farm. Where is our farm? main farm, edit, paste. Bring that over here. We'll turn it to 0 degrees. Let's check out the pit. See, it doesn't actually have the pit underneath it though, so that's kind of a bummer. I wish we could find the other one. I should have prepared better. What do we have? That's a station shipping office. It's got to be in here. I don't think he would delete it. The map person that made this map. Anybody see it as I'm moving around? Basic dump trigger. Dun 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 dun. Nope. Well, I got an idea because I don't want to use one that doesn't have a bottom. We're going to do a quick demo one more time of... Let's delete that copy I made. Let's go get one. What I'm going to do is go to my PV15 map and load that one up. I didn't copy and paste the silos. Well, we can always copy and paste from the farm. I'd end up deleting everything in the corner at the end anyway. So if we need to make a duplicate of the silo, we can easily copy the one that's on farm 1 to another place. But we do did we get it in the right folder? I can't even remember if we did that. It might be outside of the folder. We'll check that out. Hey, there's the Campbell Soup Factory. Let's scroll over to one of these farms here. That's the unloading pit I want. So I'm going to highlight the whole unloading pit. I get the unloading trigger and everything with it. And I'm going to go to File, Export Selection with Files. And we're going to go to Map, Models, Objects, we'll call it. We'll make a new folder for unloading pit. And spell unloading pit correctly. Open that, and I'm just gonna put PIT. Create it right in the folder. Close that one back down. Basically, we just copied everything to make that unloading pit into the other map folder. And you notice I didn't shut down the other map yet, so we can easily switch right back to it. Now, is my silo not in my folder? No, it isn't. So let's copy it. Well, let's cut it out of there. We'll move the whole thing. We'll cut it right out, and then we'll put it down into my main farm area. Of course, when I do that, I got to reposition it. We'll bring it back. There we go. It's all part of the main farm now. We can offload. Maybe move this a little bit. Go to our import button. And you can see the pit, it's already in the folder, and all the textures and everything are there. We'll just open that. We're going to cut that and then put it into the main farm as well. Bring that over to here. Rotate it to 0. Position for offloading, just a little bit above the ground there. Now we brought this in from the other maps, so it's going to have different attributes on the unloading pit. Basically, the grain station trigger on our map has wheat, rape, barley, and all these other potato, carrot, onion, you name it. We're going to back out all the extras. We'll leave the sugar beet and potato. We don't need hemp. Got to make sure you leave a space between each of the fill types. We don't need millet on this map. We don't need a lot of stuff on this map. Sugar beet out of there. Oh, well, we didn't need to take sugar beet out. Cotton out, sugar cane, sunflower. Alright, we'll leave the potato in. When you're working with sugar beet, just so you know, I don't know why, but the B is capital. Everything else is always lowercase, but they put the B capital. Price multipliers aren't really necessary, but if you have the price multipliers, if it was a silo where you would be selling off at, you'd want to put the price multipliers in there. But you don't even need those, so we'll just delete them. Now we have the pit with the trigger, and it's a main trigger. It's a farm trigger, so all the silos that are connected, it can empty from any of those silos. But the pit's not cut out. So what I do to cut out the pit is select the tool for terrain height. I change my radius to 2. I just clicked and started digging a hole. But I'm going to left control R, and it changes the replace value to the height of the terrain. I'm going to go to select replace, and then I'm going to lower it by 2 meters. So we're going to go to 81 to 79. Make sure your 3 values are all set to 1, your hardness, your value, and your opacity there. And then just click in the middle and work your way out slowly so you're not going outside of the edge of the... You can see where I just clicked, it moved it a little bit outside. It would leave a little bit of a hole there, so we'll fix that after I undid, and it's doing the same thing on the right side just a little bit. Bring out the plane. So if I'm clicking on this edge, notice it just right here, it just dipped below the surface, and right there, and a little bit over here. Well, the easiest way to do that is to grab the whole thing, your whole unloading pit, and just drag it to that little, cover up those little dips. Make sure you don't uncover one on the other side, but it usually will fit just fine. So there we have our unloading pit. We have our silo installed, and that is another piece of the map. Giants advertise 4 animals and no one could find the 4th animal. Yeah, the 4th animal is an elk, or a moose, or something. There's a spline for an elk spline. They have several elk splines, and they even have the elk, like I was showing people. It's just a cardboard cutout, so it obviously was a placeholder that they never did the actual elk to put on the spline, but it's in there. Maybe someday they'll replace it. Back to the farm. Let's see, we got a barn, we've got a silo, we can expand, we can add some trees over here as well, or decorative objects. There's plenty of decorations. What do we have highlighted there? The lighthouse light beam. Yippee. Let's get underneath that. Oh yeah, we need to have a clothesline. Everybody's got to have some type of... I'm clicking on the box that's around it, so sometimes you got to get really close to these objects to get them actually selected. Let's get off the darn lighthouse. Umbrella clothesline selected. I'm going to cut it right out of there, bring it over to the main farm. Paste it in that group. Put it in the backyard. Use your decorative little objects. Move them around. Decorate your farms. Grab some of the bushes that are over here that were right next to it. We have... Or is that trees? bushes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Well, we'll grab number 5. We'll cut that one out. Bring that over to our main farm and paste it in. And we'll do it right along the outside of our fence. And I'm going to do the control duplicate, but I'm going to do the control B, click, and this time we're going to just duplicate my bush a few times. And you get the idea. Basic objects moving around aren't that big of a deal. Certain objects like the BGA, which we can do a real quick, we'll show you some of the things with the BGA. Let's find a place to put it. I think we will put it right down here on this slab here. All the pieces of the BGA. We need our silos. There's the whole BGA facility right there in one folder. Let's bring that down over here. We have a new home for it. I just raised it by accident a little bit. You want to make sure it's underground there, or your silos will have their fill planes up in the air as it is. When they made this map, it's a little bit off, so let's see what we can do about that. Got the BGA facility folder already selected. It's in its own, so we're going to just drop that in. We could put fence around this and everything, but let's look at the different parts of the BGA. Again, when we highlight the BGA facility, we have all of this information, and these, if you were watching Big Daddy's class last week, the indexes 02 refers to the indexes here 0, so we're looking at the bunker sound index is 02 with the caret and greater than symbol in between. So we find number 0 and we can look at that. It's the last one, and then the second one, actually, is it going from the top? 0, 2. Yep, there's the bunker sound. Alright, so from the top one where it says you'll have 0, the last number, this would be 1, this would be 2, right here. The last number is what it's pointing to. So the BGA facility is telling us the bunker sound index is at 02. The liquid manure silo index is at 01, which would be 1 right up above it. And you can look at all these other values. The bunker roll speed would increase, how fast the rolls in the bunker move. You could change the BGA has an onCreate, which calls the whole BGA function, the silage catcher index, tip triggers index, all those pieces are already included. We're not going to get too much into that. There's your tip place. We'll highlight some of these things. The tip place for dumping your silage is right over there, which is kind of weird. Didn't they have a different place for that on the other one? Did I leave a piece behind? Who knows. But that's where you would tip your silage into the Rhonda mat. Let's see. The liquid manure tank, it has a capacity you could change. If you want it to hold more than 800,000, you could easily pump it up to 1 million. The BGA facility, it's just the buildings. But we got to get to the bunker silos. The bunker silos each have a capacity of 600,000, as you can see. Now, the planes here were off, so One thing I wanted to note is these three values. I want to make sure I have them back set correctly, the Y value, so I get it back to where I want. So I'm going to Control C to copy that. I'm going to lift this up, and we know it's off center a little bit, so I'm going to bring it to center. By looking at it, make sure it's centered in the bunker where I want it. Then I'm going to just Control V and put it back underground, and I would have to do that for each of these apparently, because they messed them all up. But the Control V will put it back to where it should be underneath the ground. Let's get bunker 3. Oh wait, he has them all stacked up. Bunker 1. What do you know? Let's do this. Start over here with bunker 1. Whoops, I spun it on the axis. This is bunker 1. Get a good idea where it's supposed to be. Now we'll put that one back underground. Then bunker 2. He had them all stacked up on top of each other when he moved them, making this map. So we do have to spread them out a little bit. I'm going to Control V, put it back underground, grab bunker 3, which is on top of bunker 2. Get all my pieces in a row. And bunker 4. Raise it up. And put it underground. Alright, now we have our bunkers set up where they're supposed to be. Silo walls, the icon for the BGA will appear on the map wherever we decide to put this little marker. So if we wanted it to appear right in the center, you can just move it to wherever you want it to appear on the PDA map, and it will appear. Again, you can increase the capacity of each of the bunkers. I don't know why, but my map has them at 900,000 now. So we'll make this one 900. And again, each of these silos has lots of indexes for the moving plane index and everything, and if you look down you can figure out the tip trigger index, where it can tip starting point and end point for each of the bunkers. But we moved those with the whole bunker, so they're all in the right place. A lot of different indexes, and all the different silage planes that move independently for each bunker as well are in the moving planes index underneath the silage. So that's basically what that's all telling you, which indexes and where and how much to move the planes, the minimum and maximum. So moving planes min, max, Y. The minimum would be minus 3.8 if we were highlighting a plane. Actually, we want to highlight the bunker. And the moving plane's minimum should be set to this value right here. Or is it this? Yeah, moving plane. I haven't had to do this in a long time. I believe the index value is what we need to go right there. So let's try that out. Minus 3.8, but this is set at 0, so our moving plane low should be 0, and our high point should be set to somewhere around there. 3.173. So I'm going to bring that back to 0 and change my moving plane on my bunker silo to 0 minimum and 3.173 maximum. And I would have to change that for each of the silos because we moved them. So basically, you'd go through and get your plane set, the minimum and maximums for each of your bunker silos. If you're having trouble, I believe the moving plane index is selecting, and I could be wrong, this value here, which we're starting at 0. If it is selecting the overall bunker from the bunker value, the BGA facility value, then we may have to redo our numbers. But we're going to leave them at 0, 3.173, and hope that's what they are when we go to test that someday. And basically, we're almost out of time. Lots of objects that you can just drag and start your little stores and get them distributed, creating your groups. And next week we will show you how to do your navigation meshes. We'll add some chickens to this main farm. Even though it is a kind of a dinky main farm, maybe we'll have to expand it. But we're going to do the navigation meshes for the chickens, the cows, and the sheep on Friday at 7 p.m. on Friday before our weekly preview show. And then next coming up, Big Daddy's going to be showing us how to convert, I think, a 2013 mod, 2013 track into a 2015 on his show on his channel, which we'll link to very shortly. And that's going to be about it for today. So tune in to Big Daddy, BIGDAD. I think he's still using the same address. If you're out there, Big Daddy, you still using the DADY? I'd like to know if you switched your channel yet. I think he's still using the Big Daddy 012678 address for his show. Get you guys pointed in the right direction. And I'll be looking forward to watching him there. Apparently he's not listening. He's probably getting ready.
Jeff entered channel.
Oh, there he is. Hey, Jeff.
Howdy.
You're going to be using the same Big Daddy address?
Yep, same one we did last week.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm just wrapping up here, so I will transfer my, I'll start following you over there, or hosting you, and send these guys over to your channel. There it is.
Sounds good.
And
looking forward to it.
We'll see you guys again on Friday, if not sooner, with another map making class and doing navigation meshes, and then the weekly preview. But for now, you're going to see Big Daddy's mod class. Which what tractor are we doing today?
We are doing a Farmall 1206 from FS13.
Awesome. All right, thanks again, guys. Thanks for watching. And we'll have this up on YouTube for you to review if you need to review anything, or if you missed any of the other classes. Just check out the YouTube link from our website. Can you talk to us on Twitch? No, you cannot. Big Daddy's part of our group, so he's in our mumble. But you can leave me messages in the forums if you need to. And I'll respond to help if you have any questions, or if you need to know something else, just let me know and we'll get it up there either in next broadcast, or I can also post in the forums to get you. Our TeamSpeak right now is private. It's only us guys on the server. We're going to work eventually on getting a public room for people, but it's basically just our farming, and it's actually a mumble server, so it's just the guys that are on our farming server that can use it right now. And that'll be about it for today. If you missed last week, one more thing. If you type exclamation point viewer. There's a save game viewer program I've been working on, and you're welcome to download that for free. And we'll catch you next week, or Friday.